A game that I love is dead. It is perhaps gone forever, and I will never get it back. While there now exists a version of it that I can still play, as if I can say that word with sincerity, the fact remains that it's a pale shadow, a false imitation of what it claims to be. Warcraft III as I knew it and as I loved it is now gone forever. It's true that there are still ways to play classic Warcraft III, but what is also true is that it's only a matter of time, long or short as it may be, that even those methods would fail, and what we're left with is only Warcraft III Reforged. Warcraft III Reforged is nothing short of a travesty and insult to fans of this beloved game. Not only is it full of broken features and broken promises, but with its release the malevolent, and I truly believe them to be so, robber barons of Activision Blizzard have designed their new product with the intent to retroactively tamper and break a product I owned and used for over 15 years without issue, unless I willingly bend the knee to their tyranny. But to truly understand why this game has been lost, you need to understand the full story from its release to the state it exists today, and probably will exist for the unforeseen future. Warcraft III Reign of Chaos and its expansion The Frozen Throne are widely hailed as one of the best real-time strategy games ever made. Not only was the core game excellent, its approach to a story-driven campaign and a strategy game was somewhat revolutionary, forever changing how games of that genre and even outside of it approach their stories. Furthermore, for over 15 years since its initial release in 2002, it boasted an active network of competitive and casual players, as well as a lovable community of map creators, modelers, scripters, modders, and websites. In 2017, Blizzard released a new patch for Warcraft III, the first one in almost a decade. This new patch made a host of balance changes, which, while minor, suggested that perhaps something more was in store for Warcraft III from Blizzard in the future. In 2018, Blizzard announced to the excitement of many that Warcraft III was not to only be remade, but reforged. They promised total graphical overhauls in the form of new high-quality models, textures, and animations, greatly improved dynamic cutscenes and single-player campaign, as well as overhauled audio, a more powerful world editor, the famous map creation software of Warcraft III that enabled players to make custom game modes ranging from full-fledged single-player campaigns, fully realized multiplayer RPGs, mini-game and battle arenas, tower defense games, and yes, the infamous Defense of the Ancients map. And all of this promised the notion that new life would be breathed into a classic game many still loved, played, and adored, bringing into the fold new generations of players, aspiring map creators, modelers, scripters, and competitive players who we veterans of this proud game could share our love of this community with. Blizzard boldly proclaimed that their policy going forward would be one of cross-platform before Warcraft III Reforged and Classic. You do not need to buy the same game twice if you didn't want to, and owners of the original game would be able to freely and seamlessly play with the owners of the remake. What seemed at the time to be a benevolent attempt to prevent a community from fracturing between two games and ensuring its unity would eventually be revealed as a hollow lie, a malicious attempt to not only take advantage of their current consumers, but also to take advantage of and quite plainly rob and extort their customers of the past. A series of patches followed soon after, offering improvements such as widescreen resolution, increasing the total number of players a map could support to 24 from its original 12, adding improvements to the world editor, and further multiplayer balance changes. However, these patches were not without issue, and should have been a sign of things to come. Many of them broke the scripting of custom player-made maps, causing at best constant desyncs online, or at worst CTDs when trying to play community-made content that functioned fine previously, sometimes for more than a decade. Part of these updates was switching Warcraft 3's old launcher to a new one that tied the game directly to a user's Battle.net account. Warcraft 3 Reforged was promised to release at the end of 2019, but was delayed until the end of January 2020. All the while, Blizzard sold pre-orders of a game of the promises they made to us at BlizzCon, something they still boldly do on their website. Promises that turned out to be misleading at best and blatantly false at worst. The sign should have been clear as the deadline to the game's initial promised release date came closer, and the proof that any of these promises were being fulfilled was lacking. Warcraft III Reforged released on January 28, 2020, marred by bugs, glitches, cut or missing features, insulting EULAs, and what essentially is highway robbery. Due to Blizzard's insistence on making Reforged and Classic being the same game, any attempt to keep your Classic version up to date in order to play multiplayer with friends essentially allows the company to invade your personal computer and tamper with a product you bought some time ago. In essence, your Classic version of Warcraft III is removed entirely, replaced by a massive 20GB download that is essentially Warcraft III Reforged without the added functionality of the improved graphics. In this display of banditry, Blizzard prevents complete and total access to numerous features that were originally part of the game. Furthermore, the entire thing simply reads as a devious and predatory attempt to force players of the original game to purchase their overpriced clusterfuck of a remake. But even this is only the tip of the iceberg to show you how Warcraft 3 was killed, murdered in cold blood by a company that created it, albeit only in name only at this point. While I'm not a competitive Warcraft player, I truly feel for those who are, or were, as they have been robbed of competitive ladders, proper rewards for their wins, ability to have their own statistics logged and see the statistics of other players, and they are now under Blizzard's iron boot heel for the foreseeable future when it comes to competitive play. Where I am hurt most deeply is how Blizzard has tyrannically gimped this game's community of custom game creation and multiplayer. The new EULA, which you must agree to in order to get full use out of your copy of either Reforged or your classic, now reforged against your will version of the game, effectively states that not only does Blizzard hold complete control over any creative output you put forth into the game with your own content, but that a user waives personal and moral rights to be subservient to their overlords who reign from a corporate boardroom in some ugly skyscraper in some urban location, looking down at their peasants atop mountains of wealth with little regard to the individual. Agreeing to such an agreement effectively turns you into the slave of men you've never met, if you dare to be so bold as to express yourself with the carrot on the stick they so brazenly dangle in front of you. The truth is that Blizzard is deeply afraid of missing out on the next sensation. An often forgotten fact is that the tower defense genre, now a staple of mobile and internet games, essentially originated in Warcraft III amongst player-made maps, themselves inspired by a single secret mission in the Frozen Thrones Blood Elf campaign. There is of course the elephant in the room as well, Defense of the Ancients, or Dota, part of the Aeon of Strife-styled Fortress Assault game going on two sides genre, or MOBAs. Dota was the inspiration for esports juggernauts such as League of Legends and Dota 2, owned by other companies based upon player-created ideas born within the Warcraft 3 community. Blizzard is fundamentally upset over the fact that they do not own these genres, which originated within their game, so their new license agreement, in an attempt to protect the rights of their own company, effectively terminates the rights of the individuals who through their passion and dedication might create something that enriches the world. To this company, its once proud and glorious community of individuals who express their creativity in boundless ways are little more than chattel slaves, ready to be discarded into pits of fire the moment they produce enough value. It's clear that this policy will kill the community of all creators who made things for Warcraft 3, not just those who work on maps like Dota or Tower Defense. If you were to create a map or campaign with your own story and characters, perhaps even set in your own world instead of Blizzard's Azeroth, as numerous aspiring creators have done in the past with their own single-player campaigns and multiplayer RPGs, I'm sad to inform you that your ideas now belong to Blizzard the moment you open the world editor with the intent to make something. One other facet that cannot be ignored is that community creations featuring third-party IPs are now banned from online play. Obviously an attempt to protect Blizzard from being sued by other companies since they now own everything that is created within their game and are also therefore responsible for it. However, what often goes unspoken is how some of the most fun and entertaining custom games drew heavy inspiration from third-party works. Classic anime-themed maps like Dragon Ball Z Tribute and Battle Stadium Dawn are no longer allowed. The same can be said of numerous iterations of the classic Life of a Peasant map, which included themes ranging from Final Fantasy to Pokemon. Speaking of Pokemon, classic RPG Pokemon maps, as well as a personal favorite of mine, Pokemon Defense, are also no longer allowed. Maps that drew inspiration from Warhammer are just as defunct as maps that drew inspiration from movies, such as John Carpenter's The Thing. One of my absolute favorite maps was a cooperative 10-player story-driven RPG with a runtime of 6 hours named Video Game RPG, which saw the heroes of numerous video game franchises uniting together against a common threat. Think of it almost like Subspace Emissary, but it played like Diablo. Due to the new rules and regulations, this map is banned completely, and I would probably never be able to play it with friends, or perhaps at all outside of an unupdated, fresh disc install of Warcraft III, if it even works on there. In essence, Blizzard has deemed it that not only do they have the right to, but deemed it necessary that they must insert themselves into how I choose to make use of a product I purchased from them 17 years ago, lest I might do something unsavory with it, like enjoy it to the detriment of their future profiteering. This is like if 10 years ago you bought a lawnmower, and it was a superb lawnmower that worked well all this time. Sure, it might be dated compared to newer models, but it gets the job done and still does it well. Then one day, a representative of Lawnmower Incorporated arrives at your door. He smiles and says gleefully, "How do you do, sir? In celebration of its 10-year anniversary, we are launching a new line of lawnmowers based upon the successful design we launched that you own. As part of our new initiative, we want to make sure all old lawnmowers remain compatible with our new line for easier maintenance and repair. Would you be so kind as to sign these documents giving me permission to inspect your lawnmower and start replacing necessary parts with new up-to-date parts?" Naturally, you agree, as this lawnmower has served you hard and well over the years, and if you can keep it for another 10 years easy, then you are ecstatic. So he tampers and tinkers, installing new parts, but he also breaks some parts, and it doesn't quite run the same. You raise the issue with him about how he basically came to your house and broke your lawnmower, but he says, "Sorry sir, with these papers you signed, you actually agreed that it is our lawnmower, and you are not entitled to a refund. Also, I regret to inform you that the Super Mario Bros. Bumper sticker that you have placed upon it must be removed because Lawnmowers Incorporated does not have a partnership with Nintendo. Is there anything you can do to help me instead?" you ask. "Of course," the bandit replies. "I'll be arranging your lawnmower to be taken away and refurbished to be more in line with our current product. I must ask you to step off of our lawn, though." "Your lawn?" you ask. "Yes, as you agreed, we at Lawnmowers Incorporated own and reserve rights over any lawns that our lawnmower cuts. If you continue to stand there, I'm afraid I'll be forced to call the police and see you in the court of law." So the brigand takes away your lawnmower to be reforged, and when it arrives, it's not even the same lawnmower. It's also not the new model either, thankfully. You read reviews and saw the new model isn't very good. But your new reforged lawnmower is still based on the new model, made of shitty parts that work poorly. You sigh as you reminisce about the lawnmower you once had, as you take your new shitty lawnmower to cut the lawn that you don't own for free. That is Warcraft III Reforged in a nutshell. Perhaps what is most shocking is that it seems there exists no rights, laws, or legislation in place to protect me as a consumer of a product when corporations such as Activision Blizzard decide that they are my overlords and superiors in this matter. How could they? These laws don't even protect Blizzard. In Warcraft III, there exists a character known as Grom. Grommash Hellscream. You see, Grommash is his full name, but they always called him Grom for short. It just rolled off the tongue better. He's quite a well-known and respected character amongst Warcraft fans. Well, one day in 2014, the car company Honda decided to release a vehicle called the Honda Grom, trademarking the name Grom. Now, rumors abound about cease and desists, but the fact remains that Blizzard started referring to Grom as Grommash Hellscream only right around the same time. Whether they legally can't or are simply afraid to, doesn't it seem odd that a company can't call a character by a name they've been referring to them as since 1995? Who knows if it's true or not, but either way, it seems like there's something fundamentally broken when it comes to trademark and copyright laws and the rights of consumers. Blizzard is also refusing refunds to their product and banning those on forums helping others to seek legal ways to receive a refund. Doesn't it seem somewhat flawed to live in a system where someone cannot be reimbursed for money spent on a product that was not as advertised? Imagine if you bought a lawnmower that could not mow lawns, and you could not get a refund for it. Wouldn't that be silly? Perhaps I'm the only one who thinks so. I'm thankful to still have at least my disc copies of Warcraft III, but there's no telling for how long they'll continue to work. One of the caveats of physical media is that it is inherently fallible. Make no mistake, digital media too is also fallible, as we have just learned, but in different ways. So I will leave you with one final story of how much I liked Warcraft III. Instead of going to my senior prom, I opted to stay home and play Warcraft III on Battle.net with a friend in 2012. You might think that's silly or that's sad or pathetic, but I regret nothing. I wear this story as a badge of pride. Instead of spending an exorbitant amount of money to go to an event where I'd be surrounded by people I couldn't stand, bombarded with music I didn't like, and served food that without a doubt tasted like shit, I chose instead to spend my night enjoying a classic game that I have already gotten more than its money worth from, that I knew I loved, and having a great time. To this day, I consider it one of the best decisions I've made in life. And it pains me to know that memories like those are all I'll have left of Warcraft 3 as I knew it and I loved it. Rest in peace, Warcraft 3. You will be sorely, sorely missed. And I hope someday your death will not have been in total vain, and justice will prevail in the end.